Welcome to the November segment of 71 Magazine. I'm your host, John Bryenton, and we'd like to thank OMU for underwriting this segment. With me in the studio today is Sonya Dixon, who is a communications specialist with OMU. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is our what is this? Our second one now that we're on?
We are.
Okay,
we're on a roll.
We are. Okay, now today we're going to be talking about holiday lighting safety. I still can't believe that we're in November already, and the holidays are just around the corner.
And they come earlier and earlier, don't they?
Yes. Okay, so holiday lighting safety. Let me ask you a question. Can I use just any of my holiday string lights just for indoors and outdoors?
You know, they're rated according to what you can use outdoors, so that they're weatherproof and don't take on the water and that sort of thing. And indoor, and it will say on there. It'll say on the box. It will say on that tag that everybody's probably cut off.
Okay.
But you can certainly look when you purchase them. Hopefully you're replacing them regularly. But it will tell you what you can use indoor versus outdoor.
Okay, because normally when I go buy lights, I just go pick up what's off the shelf.
Right.
You know, and get, and I don't really pay attention to it. And I know that sometimes, you know, when my inside lights, suddenly we want to buy new lights for the inside, then I want to naturally take those lights and use them
There
outside.
are some that are rated indoor, outdoor. You just
Okay.
need to make sure. But certainly it's on the box or on that tag.
Okay. Well, listen, at my house at Christmas time, when we have the tree up, there's a lot of extension cords. And I like to hide them between, like, you know, like under, you know, the
Nobody wants to
presents.
see an unseemly
Right, no one wants to see
extension
those
cord.
cords, but I
Yeah.
understand that's not safe.
You know, it's an easy thing to do. It's something that you want to do. But, you know, you run the risk that somewhere in that cord or in that connection that there's a fault. There's a wire that's just a little twisted or something that you've done, and then you've laid something over it, which allows the heat just to continue and to grow. And so there's an opportunity for a fire to begin there. And then, so it's not worth it. You know, you can certainly run them out of the way. You know, there are ways to kind of make sure that you do tuck them out. You can buy green cords for your extension cords that sometimes that helps hide them, or some that aren't necessarily as bright and orange and that sort of thing. But certainly thinking that through, it's just not worth the risk.
Oh, okay. And share a few safety tips when it comes to wrapping our trees with lights.
Well, you know, certainly make sure that you don't do more three strands end to end. I know that kills all of us because you just want to keep going. You want to keep adding. But most of those lights are rated for no more than 3 strands end to end. But that's where those green extension cords come in. You can run another extension cord and begin again. But also, as you're plugging, hopefully you're plugging in those lights and checking them before you put them on the tree. You see half a strand out, you notice it's blinking in an unusual way. You see something that's frayed, something's pulling apart, that sort of thing. You know, Christmas lights are relatively inexpensive. You know, it's time to recycle that, take that out, recycle it. It's a good way to not toss it in the trash and go to landfill. Recycle it and then replace those lights. It's not worth it. There's a fault somewhere in there. You hear about tree fires and home fires at that time of year. So making sure that you get, replace those. It's a simple thing to do. After Christmas sales are always good, picking up a bunch of those and having them on standby.
Right. Well, it's I think lights have changed over the years. It used to be the big ones to where when they burned out. They were just out. But they also got hot. See, and now I think the lights, they're a little bit different now, I think.
Right, they don't get as warm. A lot of the LED or the smaller ones don't get as warm, but that fools us into thinking that they're perfectly safe because we're like, oh, it's not a hot bulb, it's fine. But you're still running electricity on wire that you're bending and twisting and moving and then wrapping up at the end of the year. So you're putting actually a lot of wear and tear on those wires.
Right. And people have to understand too, when you have a live Christmas tree, how many times did I drag a live Christmas tree out of my house, and by the time I got it out, there was not a needle one on it?
They dry very quickly, and you also have so many other things around that tree. You have packages wrapped in paper. You have decorations that are certainly flammable. None of those things, all of those things can combust, and you just don't want to add any fervor to that. So making sure that that the lights are operational is your first good step.
And another thing, Sonya, I just thought of, it probably isn't a real good idea to keep your Christmas tree lights on all night.
No, it's tempting, isn't it? Don't we want to come home and see our Christmas tree lit up in the house? My suggestion is not only to turn it off, not only to just unplug or turn them off, but to literally unplug them from the wall. Or use a power strip. I use a power strip, and I can simply flip that light, that little toggle switch, and I know that there's no power going to that. It's very tempting. You don't want to leave them on all night. I wouldn't leave them on if I was going to be leaving the room for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So certainly not. And I would say the same things about the ones that are outside. When you go to bed, those lights need to go off.
Yeah. Well, another thing, at this time of the year and during the holidays, I think, and at least I know at my house, my wife loves to get candles out and start burning them because of the scents, and they've got all kinds of varieties at the store, and just kind of adds
fantastic.
the ambiance.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some safety tips.
Well, and you hear about those as well. That's the reason we don't put candles on our trees anymore, right? We put lights on there. Certainly make sure that you have, at Christmas we have a lot more stuff in our house.
Right.
Where your countertops may have been clear before, you may have a mini tree, or you've got some decorative packages, or something you've made, one of those beautiful little lit towns, and you put a candle near it. You have to think about where that candle's going to be. Also, don't leave the room with those lit. It's easy to do. I'm just going to run to the kitchen and fix dinner, and I'll let that candle burn in there. Some burn quicker than others. They get tipped over. You have animals in the house. You have children in the house. Maybe they weren't set in a steady way. I love candles as well. I think it helps with the ambiance, and it feels like Christmas when you're doing that. But certainly being very aware of how you're burning them and when you're burning them.
Right. A good alternative to that is they've got these little like tea lights, and you turn them on, and it actually it flickers almost like a candle.
I know, we do that as well, and it's a very easy thing. Those don't get warm.
Right.
It's a very simple way to do. So if you do have some votive holders and those sorts of things, it's a great idea.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. 'Tis the season. People are getting portable space heaters out.
They are.
Give us some tips on those.
Of course, most of those are electric. I think most people don't have kerosene ones or anything like that anymore. But same thing that apply the lights. First of all, that's a heat producing item. So in and of itself, there is a danger associated with that. It is pulling more electricity, so it's putting more and wear and tear on that heater and also on the cord. Making sure that it's in good shape, checking it out. Putting it clear of things, gosh, it's awfully nice to have right next to your chair, isn't it? But you're sitting on a chair that is flammable fabric, and you've got a blanket over you, and you're, those sorts of things. There are as we mentioned, a lot more items in your home this time of year, so you need to make sure that it's not close to your Christmas tree, not close to packages or anything like that. The other thing to remember about those portable heaters, you need to unplug them. Turning them off is not good enough. Unplug them. You need to make sure that when you're away from that heater, that there is no source of power to it.
I don't know what it is about me, but when I'm at home, like we have like this little oven, that you can cook things in, and even the coffee pot and stuff. When I'm done with those, I just have this natural sense just to unplug them.
Anything that's heat producing like that, I think you should. It's no different than a curling iron or a blow dryer, a coffee pot, small ovens that you use, anything that produces heat, or anything that is just pulling a great deal of power. There's just a risk there. What if you didn't turn, or a crock pot,
Yes.
What if you thought you turned it off and you didn't, or what if it's defective, or what if that coffee pot has a short, or you brushed by it and hit the button and turned it back on. It's always a good idea to unplug. I agree.
Yeah. Well, listen, Sonya, this time of the year, this is something that people have a tendency to forget, and this is everyone. It's when we have hoses from the summer that have been hooked up to our water spigots outside, you've got to take care and deal with those as the temperatures start to drop.
We forget about those, don't we? And lots of times we don't think about it because the temperature doesn't drop until the evening and you're inside. Most of those have what they call flowback protectors, so they don't necessarily, but they may not. So if you have an older one, remember that. But unhooking and draining those hoses and making sure that you have completely shut off that faucet is very important, because it can freeze and it can cause a break and a mess and an expense. So it's just something, you're probably not watering anything outside right now. It's pretty chilly. So unplugging and unhooking those makes a big difference and is very important.
Yeah. Well, listen, whether you rent a home or you own a home, OMU provides a lot of tips on energy savings and things of that nature. Where can they get that information?
At omu.org. We also put a lot of information on Facebook and Twitter. Sometimes we don't always think to go to the website, but we're looking through our feed and we see some energy efficiency tips. You're using a lot more power than you think you are in the winter. I know you're not using air conditioning in your home, but that heater fan is blowing, you're using those portable heaters, which use a great deal of electricity and that sort of thing. So it's important to, even though we're not using our air conditioning, which is when we think about energy efficiency, to kind of go and look at some tips for this time of year.
Okay. Well, listen, we've got a couple minutes left, but let's talk about the Community Cares program.
You know, OMU's Community Cares program is an opportunity for both the utility and for our customers to assist those that are struggling with their utility bills, their OMU bill specifically. You know, it's a lot of people have a lot of trouble with their budgets every year. You know, they're just making ends meet, and we certainly understand that. And what the Community Cares program is in partnership with a program that we already have in place. OMU makes a donation to the Salvation Army annually, and then they disperse those funds to OMU customers. They vet those customers and disperse those funds to help them pay their OMU bill. But we had a lot of customers that want to help as well, and a lot of OMU employees that want to. So we've added that to our bill several years ago, and it's an opportunity. You can write just a general amount. I want to give $5, $10. We had someone give $500 one time, and we'd like for it to go to help those that are struggling with paying their bill. You can round it up. Let's say your bill is $75 and you want it to be $80, or you can do an automatic payment. You can do that any way that you want to. You can do a one-time gift, or you can do that regularly. And those funds are put with the OMU funds, and those are used to assist people.
Well, that's a wonderful program, Sonya.
It is. It is. You know, and another thing, I think when you have someone specific that you want to help, you know, especially this time of year, we really think about those things because people, you know, that are struggling still want to celebrate Christmas with their families, and they're trying to balance that. You can always come and get a gift certificate at OMU, and maybe slip that in the mail to them, or add that to their stocking or things like that, and that helps them offset some of the costs that they're having.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, Sonya, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Great conversation, and we got holiday seasons are fast approaching,
Right here.
aren't they? Okay. Well, thanks again to OMU for underwriting this segment of 71 Magazine. If you would like additional information, you can call OMU at 926-3200, or you can go to omu.org. Hey, listen, on behalf of everyone here at OCTV and also OMU, we'd like to wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you right back here in December.